Dave, that's your business. So, but and I'd love to hear you opine on this. But starter gets going, group of very dedicated people. They're real clear about what their purpose is and what they're trying to do. Then they get some scale and they start hiring people. And then we need that software engineer. And so they're desperately going out and they get
Yeah.
so and so. And then they find out after a while they've done that over and over again. All of a sudden they go, who are these people? They don't believe in what I believe in. They don't, it's like now I'm spending my time doing human resource stuff. We're not building value. And why has that happened, Dave? Like what the hell's going on? Dave McCauley, how are you? Welcome to Culture Talks. Dave always gives me, as we do the countdown, he goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then he gives me the middle figure, so I know we're on.
That's how you know it's not AI. It's actually me.
What's been on your mind, my brother?
Well, first, since we had the conversation last time about the World Cup, what did you think of the last game of the World Cup?
I watched the whole game, and I was sitting there. I was hoping so fiercely for Spain, but I've seen so many sports events where a team dominates, and then in the last bit, the other team comes in and scores. I was afraid
Especially Argentina. Yeah.
Exactly. They've scored most of their goals the last, 10 or 15 minutes of actual time or overtime. And I'm thinking, these guys are just going to, Messi's going to come down. He's going to put a crosser and they're going to pop one in. Spain's going to lose 1-0. But, the arc of justice kind of turned out the right way. I actually thought, I don't know, I'm not a really sophisticated footy fan, but
Yeah.
I thought the Spanish team was really, really unbelievably talented at ball handling. But what did you think?
So I thought I don't follow soccer or football or non-American football, but I loved the game. We sat and watched the whole game, and I thought just the way Spain controlled the ball and the tempo. Like I love baseball, and I love a good pitching duel when the pitchers are like fighting it out and it's a low scoring game and it becomes very strategic. So I thought Spain did a great job, but I was, I was happy. I didn't have a dog in the race, but I just did not like the way it ended with the way Argentina behaved at the end of the game. So my support for Spain went way through the roof after I saw how Argentina was behaving at the end of the game and just yelling at the refs and picking fights and doing all that stuff. I was like, dude, you lost.
Yeah. And the red card, I think it was right to Martinez. I think was worth it. Like, I mean, but I think they came, more than talent. Part of this national fervor that the Argentinians.
Oh my gosh!
For that,
yeah.
They have this very intimidating kind of the way they sing their national anthem. They're just fierce. They're fierce competitors, but they've tried to bully. And like they tried to do that to England. They were quite successful actually around doing it.
Yeah.
And they tried to push the referee to his limits around. But the history between those two countries, or between Argentina playing other countries, England and other countries, they've always been notorious for the way that they've been aggressive. They're the bad boys of soccer.
Well, interesting. I didn't know that. See, that's how deep into the game I am.
And
So,
like if it was a hockey game or something, I'd pick stuff up, and sophisticated soccer fans would know. But what I didn't even pick up was like pulling on the back of the hair and
yeah.
spitting, and I mean, there's a whole kind of repertoire around how you try and intimidate the opponent that game. But anyway. It was quite interesting to watch the dynamics around the whole experience, don't you think?
Oh yeah. I loved it. I loved the way Spain could take the air out of the room and just kind of, okay, we're going to slow this down. We're going to play a different tempo. We're going to play our game. And I just thought it was amazing.
Yeah, it really was. It was really, it was quite great too, though. I read an article. We talked about this a little bit before around. It was nice to have the world come to America and to concentrate on football, not on the administration. Without getting into, they were there to enjoy the country.
Yes.
And the Scottish taking over Boston and stuff like that. There's a lot of funny stories.
When Boston runs out of beer, it's been a good time. Yeah. So the other thing, Lorne, that's been on my mind is, so I'm having shoulder surgery in a couple of weeks, and I met with the surgeon last week, and first thing I told him was, he came into the room and he said, so right shoulder, right? And I said, I'm having a I said, I'm having a BBL. I don't know what you're here for. And he said, no. So we talked, and when we're leaving, he said, "Do you have anything else you'd like to ask me?" And I said, "Yes. Make sure you don't go out drinking the night before, and make sure you don't have a fight with your spouse or significant other the night before." And so he laughed. He said, "No, no, we're going to be just fine." So I was coming back thinking, okay, he's a surgeon, and I'm going to say that to him, but really, when we're in a leadership role or we're in a management role and we have to have a difficult conversation, and maybe I didn't have a good night's sleep, or I had to have an issue with one of my kids, or had an argument with my wife, how do you get your head back into the place where you can have a good, honest, honorable conversation with somebody that values the relationship, values their performance? How do you have a difficult conversation? How do you get yourself back into that place where you're not short-tempered or defensive or just angry? What do you do to, because it happens every day, right? So
Yeah. Well, if I'm at my best, and I appreciate you asking me, Dave, if I'm at my best, when I'm not always at my best, I guarantee you that.
oh, I know that's for sure.
But when I am, I do have the moment to give myself that space to really put myself into the best possible moment to think about how I'm going to have this conversation. So it's not just straight an emotional kind of a reaction. Like I'm not counterpunching, like, or I'm not, or I'm not, I'm literally giving myself space to pause and to be ready for that, and to be clear about what I want to have happen at the end of it, and that I'm framing up the conversation the right kind of way. When I'm not at my best, I sometimes take something like, well, I'll just be radically and candid. I mean, and so subsequently I position something in a way where it's really hard for the other person not to feel like, I'm, whether that's my intent or not, I'm not, that I'm somehow in some way sort of attacking them as opposed to the process or talking about the situation. And so now, then we get into it, right? What I wonder about, though, Dave, that what happens when you don't have the same level of control? Like, if you're the surgeon coming in and you scheduled you for the theater at a particular point in time, and you've
Yeah.
had a hangover or a fight with your partner 10 minutes before, it's typically you don't say, I'm going to take a moment to pause and not do the surgery. Typically,
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Today's not a good day for the surgery. So we'll wait till he wakes up after we've given him all the drugs, and then we'll send him home and come back tomorrow. Yeah.
yeah, and I was sharing my experience about with my surgeon coming in late for the surgery. I was sober enough yet; the drugs had only partly kicked in, and I was signing things at the end, and I was like, and I'm going, and the anesthesiologist called and said, "Where is he? Call him." And I'm kind of thinking to myself, I'm going in for a 5-hour back surgery, and you're checking where, is he having a sandwich or like, and for me, I mean, nothing could be more urgent, right? But if you're doing these things all the time and you're a surgeon and I mean, I'm not minimizing how prepared he was or anything, or things turned out okay overall, I guess. I'm walking anyway. But yeah, it's a really important question. Like, Dave, what do you use as ways to help you manage in those moments when you've got to go forward? You can't completely take a pause.
Yeah. So, I try to get in touch with my body, right? So I try to do a little meditation. I try to control my breathing, try to slow down my heart rate, try to slow down, and then I'll write down, how do I want them to feel when this is over? Like
Yeah,
like we're
yeah,
gonna have the discussion. It's gonna be uncomfortable for both of us, but
yeah.
if I can just remember, how do I want them to leave, with our relationship intact, knowing that I still support them and I'm still on their side, but recognizing that there's fundamentally something that needs to shift in their behavior. I'll write that down just so I have, and I'll put it where I can see it, just so I have that reminder of, God, I'm really getting pissed right now. And okay, I'm not going to take my fight and argument with Camille out on this guy,
Yeah, yeah,
which I've done, which is why I do that, right? So try
yeah.
to slow my breathing down, try to slow my heart rate down, try to put myself in the head space and the mind space where I can actually have the conversation, and then be really conscious of, how do I want them to feel when they leave? Not like if we're, but I want to make sure, if I can keep in my mind how I want them to feel when they leave, then hopefully, and it's worked for me, hopefully it puts me in a place where I'm thinking about what I'm saying and not just reacting. And that's probably the biggest thing I can do when it's something I have to do. I can't take a let's do this tomorrow. I can't where it's something that's that urgent. Do some breathing exercises, slow the heart rate down, slow down my emotional response, and then get into the conversation. But know that I want to have a good relationship that's
Yeah.
positive and proactive and working going forward. So,
There's a lot of wisdom behind that. I had a chance to hang out with the guy who is the head psychologist for the Canadian Olympic team, and he was the head guy behind when they had a program called Own the Podium a couple of years ago, 10 years ago.
okay.
Really renowned psychologist, really good guy. And they taught everybody how to slow everything down. Everybody in the moment. Like so, and when you think about it, if you listen to Michael Jordan talk about that last shot, or the winning pitcher of in a World Series, right? That the SEAL Team 6 in moments of high stress, low and slow, kind of seems to be a really good principle to kind of embrace. And if you can do what you're talking about, if you can use your breathing, slow yourself down, and the slow is fast.
Yeah.
And that is really hard to do, and it takes a lot of discipline and self-awareness to do it. I don't think we learn it. Like, I don't think
Oh, you have to practice it.
you have to
You
practice.
got to get the chops in. You got to get muscle memory in. I have sat in this office across from somebody who, in the moment, for whatever reason, whether I didn't get enough sleep or whatever, he was pissing me off. And I've written down how do I want this to go. And I'm looking at it going, you know how I want this to go? I want to come across the desk and choke him. So
Yeah.
that's not how it didn't happen that way. But
Right.
but I was really, really pissed off. He was being really defensive, really blaming, and for some reason, it just that day, man, I was pissed. And but I was able to keep it together. As soon as he left, I was like, son of a,
Yeah, I know.
I used a lot of French, and
Maybe Garrett can put this in the text, but I wrote a blog this week. Garrett and I wrote a blog, and this is a real situation that happened to me. Somebody who's I love and is a dear friend and was my CEO, and we were at a dinner table, and
I read this, yeah.
he just like he was just starting to berate the hell out of me. He was just being like out of character. He was just treating me like crap, and it was right in front of all my colleagues and everything else. It was after a board meeting. We had one board member sitting there, and and I know low and slow is what I should have done, but I chose counterpunch. And I told him I was good if that he could talk like anybody else around this table like that, but if he continued to talk to me like that, I was going to come over there and straighten his tie. But I added a few adjectives in the meantime. Now we have a good enough relationship. We happened to be in the elevator alone. We hugged each other after, but we really never really. He's coming to Boston with me, and I think I raised a story with him around what the hell was going on.
Oh man, the shrapnel that you guys might have resolved it, but the shrapnel that hit the
I
rest of the
know,
table,
I know, and
man.
I know. We left like I mean, and people who knew us knew we had that kind of relationship. It'd be pretty mercurial, and we could really fight well like brothers. But the higher order thing for sure. If I would have a chance to do it over again, would have been slower, lower, bring it down, have a chance to talk to him later at a different time when he was in a better situation than I was, and we could talk it through. But sometime in the moment, it goes back to that Tyson comment, right? Everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth,
Yeah.
which is overused as a statement, but it's kind of profound.
Oh, it's very true. And a lot of what we talk about are like, here are the things that should happen optimally, and here are the things that should happen with change or, retention or evaluations or those kind of things. But when you're in the moment and a board member has just asked you a question, the spreadsheets are late that you need to report on, you've got two customer issues that you're dealing with, and now you have to have this conversation with somebody. The realities are, I know what I should do, and in hindsight, I'll get it right. But in the moment, how do you put yourself in a place where you can get it right beforehand? And I think that muscle memory of slowing things down and bringing yourself back into control is probably the best bet. I think you do a good job of that in your blog. Go ahead.
Yeah, what's so profound about just you asking to take a moment on this is that you know that Garrett and I have spent a lot of time talking about the principle of connect before content.
Yes, yes.
You know what? In some ways, I was thinking about, I hadn't thought about it this way this much, but really connect before content applies to you too. Like,
Yes.
in other words, you're not checking in with anybody in the room. You're checking in with yourself around, hey, before you get into the content here, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Because to your point is if I just got a off a call with a pissed off customer or someone ran into my car
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
God knows what, and if I don't check in with myself on check in before I get into the content, then that self-awareness may not be there. So I'm really glad you raised that. I hope our audience gets something out of that conversation.
Well, I got something.
Can we? Yeah, me too. Can we use that as a segue to? I was so struck by this company called Bending Spoons. Dave, you're hanging around the software business. Do you know those guys very much at all?
I had not heard of them, but right before you sent the article over for us to kind of look at, I had seen an article about them, and I'm looking for places where they've been interviewed or other things, because it's one thing to read about what they say, but it's another. I like to watch body language and see how they're talking about it. I thought it was interesting. I thought the way that they look at buy and holding companies is pretty fascinating. So anyway,
Yeah. For those in our audience, that it's an Italian company that has now gone public and is a very successful legacy. Well, I don't even know how to describe it. What they have done though is they pick up legacy undervalued brands, like if you believe it, like AOL and Eventbrite, and they have a whole bunch of them. And they take the brand and they take the value out of the brand and they find value back in the brand, right? And they do a lot of consolidation, cost management, a lot of other stuff. But there's a lot of value that's been underappreciated in that lingering legacy brand. And they are enormously successful. And their interesting thing, they have a Glassdoor score of 4.7, and it's legitimate. It's not like they are a revered company. They've been at this for a while in Italy. They're really appreciated there. But on a worldwide basis now, I was shocked when I read this, Dave, and I know you responded too. They get 1 million applications a year.
oh yeah, that
A
was
million.
fascinating. And they have a lower acceptance rate than Harvard, right?
Anybody,
Yeah.
Harvard, NASA, they're the hardest. They hire 400 people out of 1 million applicants. And I mean, and I'm going like, what the hell? First of all, how do you get 1 million applicants?
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen? Like, and it's not BS. Like, and it's like their CEO rating, I think, is 94 or 95% on Glassdoor. Their recommend to a friend is like, I don't know, 90 some percent. They've got all these great people there. And then, and I dug a little bit into their, and I encourage people to go to their website and to look at their career page. It is really interesting. Like, here's some things. Do you mind if I just read a couple of these
Go
things?
for it.
They have top of the market compensation. So, you know, a lot of people we pay 50%. And if we're really good, you might get a little bit more than that. These guys no, pay the top of the market.
Yes.
Here, by the way, flexible schedule and time off, right? Permission-free work from home. Really? Yeah, like in our previous podcast, work from home when the hell you need to, when you need to. Comprehensive relocation support. And it goes an unforgettably yearly retreat in places like Seychelles, Dominican Republic, Malta, Bali. And then what's really interesting, see jobs and apply. So you click on that and they have they call themselves Spooners.
Yes.
And then they've got they declare what they're looking for. Like they declare. And I'm looking on there right now for jobs. There are probably 20 jobs in there. And, you know,
But think about it, they're going to get 20 million applicants.
20 million.
No, it can't be that way.
No, they're going to get 1 million applicants,
Yeah.
right? For the jobs. They get 1 million applicants a year. But they're going to get, like, for these jobs, like, now what's so interesting about it is that and then when you read a little bit more about their selection process, is that it's really pure base selection.
Yes.
Like, no boss decides who's going to get hired. It's your colleagues are hiring you into the system. And and they've got some really interesting kind of things, like they've been at this since 2014. The transformation we make are often deep, designed to speed up innovation, benefit customers. Here, hierarchy is minimal and teams small and talent dense. We operate established products with ambition, agility, but they go Vimeo,
Oh,
Remini, and they got all these brands: Eventbrite, Meetup, AOL, blah, SteamYard, which we used to use actually. SteamYard is but then anyway, they go on to have these declarations around why they're one of the best workplaces. They have here's what you could expect out of a Spooner, and they declare that, and then they've got their non-negotiable behaviors. They're not words, they're like paragraphs long of description, and I'm going to share that with my
oh,
clients
I love that.
because
I love the it leaves little room for you to say, well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was
exactly.
expected. And I love peer hiring. So at the company I'm working on now, we started doing that where it's peer hiring and you can see there's connection after the hire. So they're already connected. They've already met each other. They already know each other.
Right.
And the folks that make the selection are vested in my success because they made the decision to hire me. So I love that. I think it'd be more interesting if more companies did that because it's it's kind of like showing up for the first day of school at a new school and you don't know any of the kids and you don't know anybody.
Yeah.
And
and
instead, you know everybody.
Exactly. And Dave, if you back up to the business model, I was looking at some of the things around, and I haven't seen all the EBITDA numbers and everything else, but they've got 1 billion registered users, 400 million active users, 7 million monthly paying customers. I mean, that's a great subscription model.
Oh yeah.
And,
The
and
fact that they're keeping AOL around is, you
I
know,
mean, it's bizarre. Like, I didn't even know that it says the challenge of your lifetime. And here's some other bending spoons. That's what they call it. But they've got some other things in there, and I really encourage our customers and our audience to go and listen and dig in and because think about it, Dave. What would it be like if we put more energy into finding the right people? And I'm not talking about just fit, because I think fit can be overused. I'm talking about find, you have to have the people with the right values and the right behaviors.
yes.
There's fit. But it's about who's going to bring additional value to our group of human beings. It's not just does he look like Lorne,
Yeah,
right?
or this person's going to make my life hell. I can just tell right now this person's going to make my life very, very
Yeah,
difficult. So I don't want him on my team. Or I
yeah. And then
the,
and then and then you see, like, I worry about companies that, and I've seen this happen because I've worked with a lot of startups. So the founder gets going with a group of people. Dave, that's your business. So, and I'd love to hear you opine on this. But starter gets going, group of very dedicated people. They're real clear about what their purpose is and what they're trying to do. Then they get some scale and they start hiring people. And then we need that software engineer. And so they're desperately going out and they get
yeah.
so and so. And then they find out after a while they've done that over and over again. All of a sudden they go, who are these people? They don't believe in what I believe in. They're not, it's like now I'm spending my time doing human resource stuff. We're not building value. And why has that happened, Dave? Like, what the hell's going on?
So you sort of panic. You sort of go, okay, we've got, maybe you've got a product that's due to a customer and you promise these modifications or these sort of bespoke implementation things. I need somebody who can do this. And so I need to go fill that spot. Or my team's getting overworked. I've got my COO who's working 80 hours a week. I need to get him some support and we need to do this quickly. Or I've got, you just sort of have these urgent needs. And it's kind of like what we said the first time we chatted was, I'd rather have a hole than an a-hole. And you end
Yeah.
up hiring a-holes simply because the fear of having that hole jumps in and especially if you're in a startup, revenue, making money, becoming profitable, those things become so urgent and am I gonna do I have to borrow against my house to make sure I make payroll, or can we hire this person who can get us to here? I'll deal with that later. It's kind of like the way software developers will early on write code and then somebody else comes in and goes, why the heck did you write the code like this? Well,
Yeah.
we just band-aided these things together and we just stitch these things together. We told ourselves we'll come back and deal with that. And so I think we do that in our hiring sometimes is, you know what, I know he's a jerk, or I know she doesn't know everything about the business, but they fill a gap and we'll deal with that later. We'll coach them, we'll train them, we'll develop them. And if you don't micro hire, if you don't really, really focus on the little things when you're hiring, you're going to end up micromanaging. So you
Yeah, that's a
got to
good
be
point.
really
That's a
deliberate
really
in the
good point.
hiring, or you're going to end up with HR nightmares, and you're going to spend, why am I spending all this time on HR? Well, because you didn't spend enough time on the hiring side.
Right. You know, have you ever been in a situation when you had someone doing something that wasn't the best at that particular thing or whatever it was and then had someone come in that knocked the cover off what that experience and feeling is like, the difference?
Well, yeah, it's kind of, we talk about, you want to raise the ceiling on pricing and capabilities, but at the same time, you got to raise the floor. And so the person who 3 years ago was performing average, but doing their job average,
Yeah.
and if they haven't grown and haven't improved and haven't moved forward, as you hire more and more competent people, their performing at average is now well below the line. And
Yeah.
so time and raising the bar consistently has that feeling. And we hired a sales guy last year, and all of a sudden, and we've hired salespeople before, and performance has been kind of mid. And this guy came out of the chute like gang, and we all kind of looked at each other like, this is what a professional salesperson can do in this role
Yeah.
in the first 30, 60 days. Whoa, we've been allowing certain behaviors that are different than what this person just brought to the table. And so, it's wonderful when you find that, and then you kind of have to look at yourself and go, man, how long have I been tolerating this? And I haven't done that person any favors by letting them wallow
Right.
in sort of this stage. So shame on me for not having helped them or addressed that. And now we see what the capability is. So it's like a breath of fresh air and oh my gosh. And then it's, okay, I need to really address these issues and work on these issues.
Yeah, I want to go back to one of the points that you raised earlier, and I want to say this the appropriate way because I think I've got the essence of it, but I want to be culturally sensitive to it. But I think in the indigenous community, there was a tradition when you were entering to that next stage of your life, into womanhood or manhood, that the community took responsibility for you entering that stage in your success, right? So it wasn't like, you know what, here, kid, you're now becoming a woman or a man.
Yeah, there's a rite of
Like,
passage.
there was like the elders took responsibility for, and the rest of the community for that person's success. And I don't want to, I'm oversimplifying it, but I think what happens is when the peers are fully involved in engaging in selecting someone and the standards are very high and you're bringing those standards and you want someone in an abundant way you don't want to hire someone so I'm gonna have someone lousier than me so I can look better. But if you're saying we're going to take responsibility, the power of that is that the organization's talent is so powerful; it has a momentum of its own. So you have to have a successful business model. You have to have the strategy. You have to have
Sure.
competence
Yeah.
and all the stuff that you're doing. However, when you've got those behavioral attributes that are feeling a sense of ownership, we can talk about anything. We
Yeah.
can get, I'm up for the challenge. We'll find a way. It changes so
So
much momentum.
So Lauren, can you? So my background is in anthropology and archaeology, so we talked a lot about this. But inside of organizations that are profit seeking or whatever, could you create those sorts of rites of passage as somebody who's a brand new hire and you celebrate them joining the group and joining the team? Could you create? I'm just thinking out loud, like you could probably create those rites of passage as somebody is brand new to the team surrounds them, and we're going to support each other, and you're now part of this group, and here's our group expectations as well as the organizational expectations of behavior.
I definitely do, but the end with that is I think it requires a whole different mindset this way. Like if we spent all this effort hiring you,
Yeah,
right? Which a lot of people don't, but let's assume that we do, right?
yeah,
Now let's assume I don't know, and I've been a little more research about spooners to find out. But if you've spent that amount, now you've got someone coming in that's going to be highly capable. You know that. But now what do you want? Do you want to just leave them on their own now?
no,
Like,
yeah,
I mean, now you go, all right, now we're going to accelerate and amplify their success because we know we put all this energy into finding that person, one out of a million. And now they're going to come in, but let's now take as a community response. They're accountable too. But let's
yes,
put a community responsibility with milestones and signposts of ways. So we're celebrating their advancement into becoming a full spooner or whatever it happens to be.
yeah, yeah,
I absolutely there's so much data that is behind that? If you take someone who joins your organization and they have success in the early days and they see clear signposts and milestones with clarity, the data is that their contribution and success accelerates. And so I think we should do that with more clarity, more fanfare, because I think we sort of say, well, that's the job of the leader and the individual, and we kind of leave the team to informally do it, as opposed to being more intentional about.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, how could we could start to create that intentional rite of passage. You're joining the team, or somebody who, and in my head, I'm going, oh man, I just promoted this guy and I need to do this, because there isn't that sense of this person was promoted to a new role. So in essence, they're moving from, adolescence into adulthood, right? Well, there should be some sort of congratulations, celebration, you're responsible, we're all responsible, that kind of thing. And to make it so, not so much formal, but more important, both for them and for the organization, right? Yeah, okay. No, that's good.
I want to go a little further with that. So in the MBA program that I've been teaching at, we have a fair number of people that come from public sector. And in a lot of those cases, historically, they put a probationary period. So I really challenge that. And I go, I think probationary periods are dumb shit, stupid stuff. And you could just see people go, no, wait a minute. Let's figure this out. You're going to hire someone and say, we're going to watch you for 90 days.
Yes.
Then we're going to fire your ass out of there and start all over again. And that's going to be our orientation program.
Yeah, and you know what? I've got an out. At the end of 90 days, I'll just get rid of it. There's no ownership. There's no ownership.
Think about how dumb that is. Like
I used to say, let's date before we get married. And you know what? We're making an intentional decision to choose this person. But we're not really committed. So, you're going to keep looking for other jobs just in case this doesn't work out for you, and we're going to keep recruiting other talent in case this doesn't work out for us. But right now, we're okay. Yeah,
we'll prenup it.
Yeah,
we'll just put enough KDS in there.
Prenup.
If it doesn't work out,
I'm still going to be on the apps, looking for. You never know. There's something better might come along. So
right, exactly.
And of course they're doing the same thing, right? So. I mean, we're either in this or it's a 0 or a 1, right? And I think I don't like those 90-day probations because they do feel too squishy. I mean, are you really committed to me? And am I really going to commit to you if you're going to do this? Come on.
Yeah, no, I just think it's so let's transition to the individual leader. Well, first of all, what do you like? Let's go to our pizza review. Like,
okay,
what are we saying about? Do we know enough about? These guys bending spoons to, they got a 4.7 Glassdoor rating. That's about as high as you can get.
So in terms of the pizza, if you think about the crust, that foundational thing, they pay micro attention to hiring people so that they don't have to micromanage afterwards. And I think that's the crust.
Brilliant point.
I think that's the crust. I think that's
that's a pretty high score. Like that's getting in that's getting in the 9 range, 10 range, right?
Oh yeah, that's right? A good thin crust that's nice and crispy, and the edge is nice and a little doughy, a little chewy, but not too.
Not floppy.
Good,
it's like
exactly.
Yeah, no, and then so I don't know. I mean, I'm giving them like I'm going to visit these guys. Like I'm going like. They're like going to be like my Long Island or New York, going to find out where that pizza. I want to find out more about bending spoons. I'm going to find out more about these dudes, and I probably people in the tech business know a lot more about them obviously than I do. But man, I think I'm going to apply. I think I want to know what the experience is like.
Just to go hang out in Italy, you could.
Well, you know what? I might get a trip. I don't think so. I think they might. Somehow I don't think I'm going to be one of like their CEO. They asked in one interview I saw. They asked the CEO if they thought that he would make it. He didn't think so.
Yeah, exactly. He said, "Let me come back to you." I'm pretty sure.
I don't think I would.
So what's the sauce for this kind of approach?
I think I don't think we've had a chance to fully explore. My guess is a lot of detail around how much attention they put into it. Like one of the things they're very clear about. Their behaviors. Mm-hmm. They have this is what a spooner does.
Yes.
My guess is that they've got a lot of psychometric. You can't take that many applications without having technology sort through it to filter down, because you're at the end of the day, you got to deal with a couple, 5 choices or something, right? You've got to filter it down. So you've got to use technology to help you. There's got to be a lot of process around whether this person's really going to be a spooner or not. Like, one of the things that they have is like deep ownership.
Yes.
So my guess is that they've got a lot of psychometrics, a lot of tools, a lot of things. And that's why I think it might be fun to go through the application process, because you might get a sense, because you're probably going to go on and have to fill some stuff out.
Yeah, probably take a test, probably take, yeah.
You know, so I think that's the sauce. I think the sauce is all the detail of the intricacy behind it. I don't think it's like we got a million applicants and you know what, we pull it out of the basket and we got, you know.
Or there's some magical interview. Like there's
Yeah.
some magical interview technique. I don't believe in that either. So.
And I would love to know, somewhere they're going to talk to humans that they're going to choose. I'd love to know what that conversation is like.
Yeah.
How do they talk? You know, that's the mushroom and the tomatoes and the other stuff on there. Like, what do you talk about? How do you talk about it? How do you, you know, all that. So you know,
I think though, Lorne, the cheese is what they've created is the cheese. In other words, if we're only hiring a small number of people out of 1 million applications that we get, the people who get that job, the pride, the messaging, the excitement, the sense of participation and value inside this organization, the support they're getting, that cheese attracts the next round of interviews, attracts the next application for jobs that they have coming up. I mean, that cheese has got to be the aura they create around actually hiring somebody who becomes part of the team, who is engulfed in the culture and the organization, and it sort of creates its pull into wanting to be a part of that. Maybe that's the cheese. I don't know.
Well, you know, and I want to do the cheese thing, and I would overwork the metaphor a little bit here. But you got Velveeta, right? Right? But
well, they're an Italian company, so you know what kind of cheese they got.
I know, but Kelly and I went to Europe, and we were in we went in this town outside of it wasn't Montenegro, it was
Monte Carlo, was it?
No, it was one of the Balkans, and I just got anyway. We went to the town, and they have these sheep that are there that give this cheese that they say is the best cheese in the world, like the best in the world. Like they argue better than any cheese anywhere. And I got to find this out, and maybe we can put that in the link and properly. But like you pay like top dollar for that cheese. So my guess is that Bending Spoons, whatever their cheese is, it's not Velveeta. It's not. They're going for the.
It's the movie. It's not the movie theater cheese that for the nachos.
And it's not even like, you know, it's like really good Italian. And there's so many cheese in your. This is like the best of the cheese of the cheese of the
and
cheese.
they don't compromise. They're not looking at it.
No,
yeah.
No, and you got to find that out. You got to know that exists, right? And if you don't try that cheese, you wouldn't even know it was there, and you kind of get used to taking a spoon of Velveeta. Anyway, there we go. So that is over. I shouldn't. No disrespect to Velveeta. Sorry.
It has its place.
Yes, it does. When I have my redneck tacos, I want Velveeta on.
Redneck tacos or like Rotel dip. You won't mix that Rotel tomatoes and peppers and melt that Velveeta.
So let's go to the individual leader now. What's the behavior of the individual leader that gets a high score around the recruitment selection process?
Well, again, it's being actively involved. I interview every new hire regardless of where they show up in the organization.
Yep. Got to be involved.
You've got to be involved.
But you've got Bending Spoons, and now you're getting a million applications, and you can't be involved in every interview, right? So you're you know, if you're running a small software company, you can probably do it. Even if you're running, like I ran a company with 500 people, and now in retrospect, I wish I would have interviewed everybody.
Yeah.
But they're deeply involved though, right?
Yes.
It's very intentional. That is one thing. And I think the second thing is that they're very declarative around the values and the behaviors. They link those together, and they put the tools and the micro application of that, so they don't have to micromanage like you're saying.
Yeah.
So they're making, so that leader is very clear about it. It's not like go get and, like you say, plug the hole. There's no plug the hole mentality.
No, and I think they give the individual teams significant amount of ownership on who they select and who they select to join in. And so that requires that I trust that the folks who are making that decision, they know they're going to be accountable for this person, whether they're an organizational and cultural fit as well as being able to execute.
Dave, here's where I think we need to help people around their best intentions. Like, and I'm going to go back to a sports metaphor again. I know we shouldn't, but I'm going to anyway. It's like, you want to play good defensive hockey, but you don't really have any players on your team that have ever won a Stanley Cup playing defensive hockey.
Right.
So you think you're really good at it. So you ask everybody, are you a good defensive player? Everybody puts their hand up. Then you bring in a couple players that are world-class 200 feet players up and down the rink, but their defensive game is and they have processes and systems and techniques. They're not just board bangers. I mean, it's a system. And then people go, oh, shit. Now I know what really good. I thought I was good, but now I know what is really good.
Yeah.
I think we need to help people understand what is really good. What does that look like? What is that? How do we put texture to it and really understand it, as opposed to just go, well, I like Dave. Did you like him? Yeah, he was a nice guy. He's he doesn't have any hair either, right? And and so anyway, you know where I'm going with that. I think it's a combination of leader intent around this is the biggest investment we have to make, peers ownership involved, and then the supportive mechanisms that you get better and better and better at it. And then, as you say, Dave, once they get on board, the community takes responsibility for having them bring on board and adopting them. I think then you've got something.
I think so. So is there a process, or are there ways to measure that you are putting these things in place and seeing that impact come through? Is there, how do you make sure it's happening? I guess that's
well, if it were me and I was a CPO or the CEO, it doesn't matter, C-suite, I'd say, and I'm not talking about benchmarking, but it's kind of related. I want to know what the best in the world do, what the very best in the world do. I know I'm going to adapt it to our situation, but I want to know what the very best in the world do. I want to see it, smell it, taste it, look at it, understand it. And then I want to take that and then say, how could we, and have we considered, and then apply it. And then, that idea, think big, start small, act now, and then start doing it. But it's not like, it's not an incremental jump. It's an exponential leap forward by doing it.
And that requires courage.
But I think it's hard. And I'm not saying that leaders can be lazy, but I think they can take a shortcut. And I've done it too. I think I've done it too.
We all have.
And I go okay, and I think this is a non-negotiable, non-compromise area because the risks and the outcome are too big.
And the costs, most of the time, your biggest costs on your bottom line are around headcount, are around your people expense.
So if people are your source and they're giving you a big return, you're going to think about it differently. It goes back to some of these basic kind of principles. Yeah. And hey, we're kind of getting to the end of this section, but bending spoons bended my mind.
Well, you got me doing more research on them, because also their business model in acquiring successful brands that still have legs, and then optimizing the efficiency of that brand so that they retain a certain number of their customers and making them successful and profitable. I think that's also pretty cool. I mean, that's also pretty interesting.
I mean, in some ways, that's right in your wheelhouse of what you do on a daily basis. I mean, you and your partners are. It's probably raises some things up the flagpole a little bit around. What are these guys doing? How do they do this? Like this, they've been at this for a few years now, over a decade, and maybe. Like if you decide to go to Florence or Milan to check these guys out, do you want to maybe I should come along?
I'll need somebody to carry my bag because I'll have a bum shoulder. So
yeah, well, I'm not sure I'm much of a bag carrier.
Well, two of us together makes one whole person. So,
okay. Hey, Dave, as always, really fun talking to you. Thanks for the question at the beginning, because it's a very practical thing, this ability to go low and slow. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Love you, my friend.
Next time, brother. All right. Bye for now.
Be good.
Bye.